Hello there. Welcome to whatever we're calling this show. Hello there. Welcome back to SiDEQUEST. Today we are continuing from last time, seeing that compilation of George Lucas interviews. This time, joined by our esteemed guest, Wisp.
Hello.
And, just continuing giving our thoughts and contemplation upon all these interesting stuff. That shouldn't be plural. This interesting stuff. So without further ado, those who are just listening and cannot read, the prompter is asking about books and films, the correlation there. So without further ado,
when I grew up in a small town in Central California. It was a farming community. We had a couple movie theaters. You go to the movies once in a while. I grew up before television. Didn't get a television until I was 10 or 11 years old. So when I was younger, I think the books that I was the most addicted to, they were, I guess they're called landmark books, I can't remember exactly what they're called, but they're books, they're history books about famous people in history, and there was a whole series of books from ancient Greece, Alexander the Great up to the Civil War Monitor, the Merrimack, and I used to love to read those books, and it started me on sort of a lifelong love of history, and I think those, if anything, were the most influential books. I loved Swiss Family Robinson and sort of there was a whole period there of I don't know, South Sea adventure movies, Treasure Island, and those kinds of
I love
things.
those books. I love those books
I liked
so
that
much.
quite a bit. And then in the movies, I liked westerns. I mean, westerns were very big when I was growing up.
Clint Eastwood.
When we
Clint
finally got a
Eastwood,
television,
yes. John Wayne.
there was a whole run of
Yes,
westerns on television.
yes.
John Wayne films,
Robert
John
Mitchum.
Ford, and before
Is
I
that
knew
it right
who
there?
John Ford was.
Yeah.
I think those were very influential in
Unless
my
I'm
enjoyment
mistaken,
of movies.
his grandson is one of the stunt doubles for Pedro Pascal in The Mandalorian.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's wicked. That's cool.
I find it funny that he was really drawn to westerns, and it kind of makes sense because I wonder if it played any part. I'm sure it played a large part in the Star Wars universe that we see. Like, you see the cantinas.
Oh, absolutely.
The gunfights, Han Solo as the gunslinger, sorta, I can see that influence there now. Absolutely.
Yeah, because once you think about it, like, Star Wars really is a giant mashup of everything. Like, be it stuff you liked as a kid, like growing up with the westerns and whatever, or be it stuff he did in college when he studied more about East Asian stuff. So the samurai, the Jedi are obviously based on samurai and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Especially with the different fight styles that we see the Jedi have. The 5 different fight styles that they have?
7, but
The seven, okay.
forms, which are all like very like Japanese code, like the it's like Ataru, Jemso, like they're that like sounds like Japanese but isn't actually.
Yes.
But, I mean, well,
Even
the word Jedi. Do you know where that comes from? Anyone?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I know the very first name was Jedai.
Oh,
Yeah,
not in
Jedi.
universe. I mean from an out of universe perspective.
No.
So, there So during in the 1500s, I believe, was the Warring States period of Japan, also known known in Japanese as the Sengoku Jidai. From that, they started making, like what we would call period pieces, like dramas set during that, like plays and whatnot. So they created, the period pieces, Jidai Geki. George heard those first two syllables, Jidai, is like, I can make this a thing. So that's where we got Jedi.
Well, there you have it.
Wow.
That's so cool. I love that.
As the Japanese would say, sugoi desu. So to only listening audience, the prompter is now asking, do you think you had a natural talent for filmmaking? Let's see what he has to say there.
Yeah, it's really a matter of finding your talent, and everybody has talent, and it's just a matter of moving around until you've discovered what it is. A talent is a combination of something you love a great deal, that's something you can lose yourself in, something that you start at 9 o'clock, look up from your work, and it's 10 o'clock at night, and also something that you have a talent, not a talent for, but skills that you have a natural ability to do very well. And usually those two things go together. So it's when a lot of people like to do certain things, but they're not that good at it. And you keep going through the things that you like to do until you find something that you actually seem to be extremely good at, and you seem to be do very well at it. And it can be anything. It's just, there's lots and lots and lots of different things out there, and it's a matter of moving around until you find the niche that you fit into. When I talk to film students or people interested in getting in the film business, it always comes up, what do you do? What do you do? I say, well, learning to make films is very easy. Learning what to make films about is very hard. And what you really got to do is focus on learning as much about life and about various aspects of it first, and then learn just the techniques of making a movie, because that stuff you can pick up pretty quickly. But having a really good understanding of history, literature, psychology, sciences are very, very important to actually being able to make movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
You got to be able to make something that people will be able to watch, relate to, enjoy, something that's going to make sense. Absolutely.
Yeah, because something I guess a lot of people forget is that, film in the end is just another storytelling format, with and every one of those has its own nuances and, technical, like some people get very caught up in the technical thing. And it's not that there isn't a place for that, that's how you have like definitive styles, like, like you could tell when a Christopher Nolan film is a Christopher Nolan film, but
yes.
But as he was saying,
well, I mean, I can't. What's the defining factor of Christopher Nolan?
To me at least, like there's just something about it. I don't know. It's hard to.
Oh,
There's
you softballed that in there.
There's a sort of nuance to his films. I find that there's attention paid to certain aspects of the film, be it the action aspect or the storyline and ways that he chooses to go into depth on certain points in that storyline. There's also, I feel like you can also see it in the cinematography as well. He tends to enjoy I feel like he tends to enjoy darker shots.
And like that also goes into like color palette chosen and like even
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Well,
he
okay,
was like
okay.
Ridley.
Let me put in another example of iconic like director you can tell it to.
Oh,
Quentin
please do.
Tarantino.
Hmm.
Or Ridley Scott. I mean, you can tell
Oh,
Ridley Scott's films as well. I
oh yeah.
mean, there,
Tim
there's
Burton.
it. It's all
Tim
in the
Burton,
style.
absolutely. Yeah.
But,
And then
uh,
there's like,
now I'm thinking about
uh,
Alien since you mentioned Ridley Scott.
oh my God,
Cannot praise enough.
seriously, do not bring up my favorite franchise. Because
Oh
I
yeah.
will go on and on about aliens. Seriously, I can talk your ear off about aliens.
Respect.
Have you ever watched any of the videos on YouTube about the engineers and all of the scripts and different things that have gone on about it,
Oh.
and what the engineers are supposed to be, and what the
I have
Prometheus was supposed to
not.
be? Oh, they're
I
fascinating. They're
You're talking
I
about
Theological
really
stuff.
I want to because I'm really sad because I don't think that Ridley Scott is going to be able. At least I haven't read any plans to finish his whole David storyline. I really kind of would love to see him be able to go through and finish that for us.
Yeah, I mean, as
Yeah,
controversial as Prometheus and Covenant were, there's very much still potential there for something very.
Especially with the way Covenant ended.
I mean, it's literally a
Oh,
yeah.
cliffhanger.
I know. Come on. I want to see where that goes.
Nothing like an unresolved cliffhanger.
Mm.
But speaking of that, the prompter, as on screen, overcoming setbacks. So, let's see what it has to say about that.
If you want to be successful in a particular field of endeavor, I think perseverance is one of the key qualities. It's very important that you find something that you care about, that you have a deep passion for, because you're going to have to devote a lot of your life to it, and you're going to have to really be focused on it, and you really have to overcome a lot of hurdles. A lot of people saying you can't do it, you're going to have to take a lot of risks, and you have to find something you love enough to be able to take those risks, to be able to jump over the hurdles, to be able to break through the brick walls that are always going to be placed in front of you. If you don't have that kind of feeling for what it is you're doing, you'll stop at the first giant hurdle. So I think, and you'll never make it unless you persevere, unless you overcome a lot of very difficult obstacles. Working hard is very important, and you're not going to get anywhere without working extremely hard. And no matter how easy it looks on the outside, it is a very, very difficult struggle. Most people, you don't see the struggle part of a person's life, you only see the success they have. But I haven't met anybody here at the Academy or anywhere else that hasn't been able to describe years and years and years of very, very difficult struggle through the whole process of achieving anything whatsoever. So, and there's no way to sort of get around that. And the secret is just not to give up hope. And it's very hard not to, because if you're really doing something worthwhile, I think you will be pushed to the brink of hopelessness before you come through the other side, and you just have to hang in through that. I've had much more down in my life than I've had up, and much more struggle. I started first of all, when I went into the film school, everybody said, what are you doing? It's kind of a complete dead end for a career, because nobody had ever made it from a film school into the actual film industry. Just, maybe you go to work for Lockheed or some industrial company to do industrial films, but nobody actually made it into the entertainment business. I had no interest in going into the entertainment business, so I didn't really care. I was more interested in just doing films, going back to San Francisco, doing experimental films and that sort of thing, and maybe making documentaries and that sort of thing. So I didn't care. Then I finished school. I went to San Francisco, and everybody said, "Why are you going to San Francisco?" I said, "That's where I live." And so you can't possibly work in the film business living in San Francisco. And I said, "Well, I want to live where I want to live, and I will make films because I love to make films." But my first 6 years in the business was, hopeless. And there's a lot of times when you sit and you say, "Why am I doing this? I'll never make it." It's not going to happen. It's just, I should really go out and get a real job and try to survive. And, because I borrowed money from my parents, I borrowed money from my friends. I was sort of, it didn't look like I was ever going to actually be able to pay anybody back, which is part of living. You do have to eat, pay your rent, and pay back your friends who are supporting you. And it took me years to get my first film off the ground, and as I talk to film students now, especially, I say the easiest job you'll ever get is to try to make your first film, because that's the easy one to get, is the first film, because nobody knows whether you can make a film or not. You've made a bunch of little projects, you've shown off you have talent, and you talk real fast, and you convince somebody that you should be doing a feature, and they let you do a feature. After you've done that feature, then you really have a heck of a difficult time getting your second film off the ground, because then they look at your first film and they go, "Oh, well, we don't want you anymore." So I always tell struggling kids who think it's very, very difficult to get your first feature off the ground that that's the piece of cake. It's the second one that you have a problem with. And it took me 3-4 years to get from my first film to my second film, of banging on doors, trying to get people to give me a chance, writing, struggling with no money in the bank, working as a editor on the side, working as a cameraman on the side, getting little jobs, eking out a living, trying to stay alive, and pushing a script that nobody wanted. Finally managed to get that film made, which is American Graffiti, and then after that was a huge success. It was not as difficult anymore. A film is not an easy...
So, it really is true, especially in the modern day, what he said earlier about you often, it's rare for you to see people's struggles and whatever, because, for obvious reasons, people aren't going to be advertising that, like, through, especially, like, with modern social media and whatever, like, you just see the great thing that they accomplished or did or whatever.
Exactly.
It really is. I guess that's been amplified in the modern day, because even but I suppose, in the end, it is all about that perseverance. In the end, I wonder if he was reading some Marcus Aurelius or something, like
I think it's also situational, though, because you'll look at somebody like Francis Coppola or even Orson Welles, or there's tons of different directors that have done work, and it never comes to light. It's never appreciated. So everybody that works with them, it's basically like, their work was for nothing, and it's only appreciated years and years later. It just so happened that George's stuff was appreciated right then, as far as Star Wars, but I mean, that's only because he just kept working past THX and American Graffiti, which that's what he's talking about. That's all those were going to be like the death of him as far as his like job in the industry and everything, and it ended up becoming the making of him. And it's the hard work. You just nail it every time you talk about that. Hard work. And then perseverance. Okay, I'm done. Sorry.
right.
There's life lessons. There's life lessons in this video, and I encourage anybody who is listening to us to please watch this and watch it with your children, because there's a lot of lessons in here. Especially right now when he just talked about hitting the brick wall and perseverance. Perseverance is what's gotten me through my life being born disabled. It's the one character trait that if you ask anybody who's ever known me through my life, they'll tell you that's the one character trait that pops to mind the quickest. Life's hard, and it's not fun a lot of times, and to pursue your dreams, it's even more difficult, because you're not going to get support for them, and you're not going to, perhaps even within your own family, and you you got to do what you believe in. With my own children, I encourage them to be who they wanted to be, not to go to school or go to college, you know, um, whatever path I might think was best for them. I just simply encourage them to be who they wanted to be and who they knew they could be, and they turned out just great. That's really the role of a parent. A parent is there as a support mechanism to bring out the talents of your children and help them
Help nurture that.
find the way. Yes, nurture that.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I kept thinking about as he was talking about, the perseverance, and the hardworking, like it all boils down to willpower. It you can persevere, um, but you can't persevere for 6 years like he did without the willpower to keep getting up every time you're knocked down, every time you feel hopeless, every time face some sort of obstacle. That really resonated with me, as somebody. I suffer with a sort of some mental health problems, and honestly, like the getting knocked down over and over and over, and you can persevere through it, but you have to have the willpower to continue to persevere and continue to get up and keep fighting and keep going. And I think that is a really admirable trait. And you have to have that when you're in a sort of industry like the film, any sort of role in entertainment really is, as director, actress, actor, producer, you want to get your name out there, and it's not going to happen immediately. And you're going to have a lot of people tell you no and close doors in your face, and you're going to struggle. And you're, like he said, you're going to struggle to pay rent, and you're going to struggle to eat. But if this is something that you really, really want, you have to have the willpower to keep getting up and keep doing it to make it happen.
That's very profound. Yeah, no, as I need to listen to his advice some more, because
we're getting real with George Lucas, everybody.
That's what we should call this, getting real with George.
You could put that as a title. Well, buddy, what do you mean? Like, he says it right there. It ties into it. The friends. He's got all these friends that there's a support group. And if you, I don't know if they went over it in this part or the last part, but when he was in film school, that's how they all got into the industry, is through Francis. Francis was the first guy to go from film school and to actually make it into Hollywood. And from there, like, they just started getting each other jobs. And so they helped each other into the, the story.
So we're saying it's not really about hard work; it's about connections. But no.
We won't call it connections. We'll call it support system.
Yeah,
support,
obviously I'm joking.
He said it earlier though. He said that what they would do is they formed a like a chain. One would get a script, and they get it looked at, and they might get a movie, and then they would help somebody else who was in film school get into the industry and get their scripts looked at. So it was very much about lifting people up. And he said earlier that that doesn't really happen anymore, that
it really
that kind of
doesn't.
That kind of support,
everybody
mechanism
is out. It feels like, I shouldn't generalize like this, but it feels like everybody's out there and in it for themselves. You don't really see that genuine cheering, your friend on for their successes, watching them succeed while you might still be kind of hanging back a bit. You might still be in your struggles. Like, you don't really see that very often, where somebody who is still going through their struggles is cheering on and their friend who has made some big success, or
Yeah.
celebrating that without, some sort of, I don't know, backhandedness.
Yeah.
You don't see that. What is the word that I'm looking for? Genuine. I don't. Words are failing me.
Earnest straightforwardness.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, no, because I mean, even. But yeah, no, this is definitely a very important message, even, like, especially nowadays, like, as a Gen Z, a little Zoomer, Zoomy Zoom, I can confirm that most of us feel pretty hopeless about existence. And so, it's there really is something to be said about this, just the mindset of hang in there, because I mean, what is more human than to hope, really?
Get yourself a good group of people who have your back. Get yourself a good support system, and then persevere.
Hell yeah.
And make sure they're real people, not just social media.
Yes. Yes.
I think it's important to think as well that it's necessary to come together now more than ever as we
Come
hyper.
together. Sorry.
It needed to be done.
As we hyper accelerate into the new technological age. I mean, we're not going to get on a tangent tonight on it, but
Another AI tangent.
But I don't know if anybody else saw it, but I think the CEO of Google was interviewed by 60 Minutes, and he said it's going to affect every job, every person. It's going to accelerate the human race at a very uncomfortable pace. So we've got to remember to be human. We've got to remember to stay human. We've got to remember that it's okay to go bowling or fishing or hunting or whatever your thing may be to do to get outside and turn off your phone.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. But alas, yeah, no, there's certainly, yeah, no. As I was saying, what is there that's more human than to hope? But,
Indeed.
That's a tagline somewhere.
That's beautiful.
Oh,
Beautiful.
I'm sure that's some that's like the subtitle for some avant-garde sci-fi. I don't know about Android or whatever. Anyway, let's continue with what he has to say.
Occupation. There's a lot of occupations that are difficult. Film is one of them. There's always adversity that you're faced with. I like to tell students that I talk to that, it's not a matter of how well can you make a movie. It's how well can you make it under the circumstances.
This part right here.
There's always circumstances. And you cannot use that as an excuse. You can't put a title card at the head of the movie and say, well, we had a really bad problem. The actor got sick and it rained this day and we had a hurricane and, you can't, the cameras broke down. You can't do that.
Well, okay, now I wonder if he's going to bring this up, but here's just another bit of trivia. The Sandcrawler, from A New Hope, when they were building that actually nearly caused an international incident. See,
what?
Where they were filming that in Tunisia, it was right along the border with Libya, which, during the Muammar Gaddafi regime was very, up to, actually, was that pre-Gaddafi? Regardless, they were worried. So some like scouts thought like, are the Tunisians building a giant tank? What the hell? What is that?
Oh no.
So nearly caused an international incident.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Fun bit of movie trivia. But
they were building the Trojan horse or the Trojan sandcrawler.
Tatooinean horse. Anyway,
You simply have to show them the movie, and it's got to work, and there are no excuses. And so you really have to focus on what you're doing and just plow ahead, no matter what the hurdles are thrown in front of you.
That really resonates with. Oh my God, I don't want to take this and turn it into like a statement of mental health, right?
But
But that just resonates with me, you know, like when I get my depressive episodes, you know, it like he's saying, you're gonna face hurdles no matter what, and you just got to keep going, because you know what, the circumstances, they don't matter. What matters is that, you know, you keep going, you keep persevering. That's the word of the hour, I guess. And like when I get, it just kind of resonates with me, because when I get in my depressive episodes, you know, I have my friends that kind of get onto me for pushing myself too hard. And I always tell them, you know, like what else am I gonna do? The world doesn't stop turning because I am sad today. The world doesn't stop turning because I can't, you know, I'm depressed or I have high anxiety today. I still have to get up, and there are things that still have to be done. And I, you know, don't really have the luxury to sit down and just mope. Now, I have a rule. If it's really bad, I'll give myself like 24 hours, you know, to sit on the couch and mope and wallow and eat the junk food and cry, do whatever it is that I need to do. But once that 24 hours is up, I better be up and doing something to get back into my routine. You got to keep going.
that is.
real.
I need to listen to you more. I've done a lot of moping. That is. Yeah, no, that is. Yeah, you can definitely apply what he said there to that. That whole entire. Not genre. Just conversations in regards to mental health or
Yeah. You can apply it to so much in life. It's such a wonderful message and inspiring message that you can apply to so much in life.
Precisely. But yeah.
Put on your taxes either.
We've, as of when we're recording this, if you haven't done it yet, there's 3 minutes left till taxes. Or sorry, 12 minutes.
Listen,
12 minutes at 11:48 p.m.
I can't say anything. I literally did mine with 2 days to go before tax season ended.
Yep.
That's what these tests are for.
But alas. So, for our one final segment here, the prompter is talking about most exciting moments.
Ooh.
Let's do a little upper there.
How exciting.
What I've always wanted to do in life, once I found the film business and once I found making movies, my whole goal was to be able to be allowed to make movies. So my struggle was to be able to get to be in a position where I could say, gee, I'm a filmmaker now, and I can probably continue to make the movies I want to make for the rest of my life, as opposed to struggling and saying, I got a movie, but I may never ever get another movie. And it was really after I did American Graffiti, and it was successful. It was a big moment for me, because I really did sit down to myself and say, okay, now I am a director. Now I know I can get a job. I know I can work in this industry and ply my trade and express my ideas on things and be creative in a way that I enjoy. Even if it's, I go down to end up doing TV commercials or something, or I fall back into what I really love is documentaries, I'll be able to do it. I know I can get a job somewhere. I know I can raise money somewhere. I know I can do what I want to do. And that was a very good feeling because I know at that point I'd made it. There wasn't anything in my life that was going to stop me from making movies or having access to the medium of making movies. And it's very frustrating when you want to do something and you're blocked from doing it. That's what I did in school. When I was in film school, the big issue was get to make a movie. When are we going to get to make a movie? Well, in my very first class, which was an animation class, they gave us 32 feet of 16 millimeter film, which was exactly 1 minute of film. And they said, here, test the camera. See how it goes up and down and what happens when you move the things around and learn how to use the camera. This big animation camera, it's a giant crane. And I turned it into a movie. I turned it into a 1 minute movie. I put a soundtrack on it. Got entered in a lot of film festivals. It won zillions of film festivals. It kind of revolutionized a kind of animation of what then was called kinesthesis, which is doing fast movements sort of over photographs and that sort of thing. And I said, this is great. And all the others says, well, how did you do that? I said, I just did it. They gave me a little tiny piece of film. I made a movie out of it. And I kept doing that. And all the other students would sit around the campus saying, I wish I could make a movie. I wish they'd let me do this in this class. I wish if somebody gave me 100 feet of film, I made a movie out of it. And the other kids basically didn't. They had the same 100 feet of film, they had the same camera, and they just said, when am I going to get to make a movie? And I just kept making them. And I just kept doing it. And when kids come to me and say, well, how do you get into the business? I say, you just start doing it. If you want to, and I realized I didn't like writing. I was a very visual person. I liked using pure film. I didn't actually like story and character. I was much more of an abstract filmmaker. And I got into a position where I was able to do a first feature. The person who was helping me, Francis Coppola, said, look, if you're going to make it in this business and you want to be a director, you're going to have to learn how to write. So you're going to have to write your own script and you're going to have to make it work. And I said, but I don't like to write, and I want to get a writer to do this. I don't want to do it myself. He says, no, you can't hire a writer. You have to do it yourself. And you have to write this screenplay. And he advised me in things, and eventually a friend came and helped me who was the sound person on the film and fellow student. We worked on it together, but I just, writing was not my thing. And but I went through it. And then when I went to the next film, American Graffiti, I ended up writing it. And because I knew that's what I had to do. In order to direct, you have to write. And it's very helpful because the whole core of the idea of making a movie starts with the script and starts with the idea. And if you can do that, you are your own studio. Nobody can stop you because all you need is a pencil and a tablet or a laptop or whatever, and you're on your way.
Can we pause it?
You can just create.
Absolutely.
I think the audience has just got to take off of that. You can be your own studio. When he says in there you can't hire a writer. Now, if you work with writers and stuff like that, there's not really a difference. But as long as you're doing it as a group, you guys are putting in the energy, you guys are putting in the effort, you can be your own studio. And he goes on to show this later on as, he moves from Hollywood, and basically they say, like, well, you can't, do that. You have to. And he says, no, we're going to do it this way. And so he does. And that's it, because he became the independence. Fight for independence. Okay, that's it.
That's it. Well, I mean, that was the entire, I guess, concept behind, creating Skywalker Ranch and everything, trying to, outside of the traditional system. But yeah.
I think it's honestly very wise to go in and arm yourself with the knowledge of every little detail that goes into achieving what it is that your end goal is. If this is like George Lucas wants to be, went in there, wanted to be a filmmaker, went in and learned about all the different nuances and details, the way that the various jobs worked that were needed to create his, image, not his image, but like his idea, bring his idea to life. There's definitely a benefit in that, and that you can further figure out how you want it done, and take this creation and make it your own and set it apart from everybody else's, because you're going to do it differently than everybody else, and you know how to do it differently than everybody else, and so therefore you know how to bring something fresh to the table that people are going to want.
Very well
Baby.
said. Very well said. But alas, that is all the time we have for now. Thank you once again.
Oh,
Wish,
I have
for
one.
joining. Oh, Theogek,
I have one little bit of trivia.
please do.
Skywalker Ranch, which is where George Lucas lives, which is on Lucas Valley Road in San Rafael, California. They did not name. Everybody thinks they named the road for him, but the road was already Lucas Valley Road when he moved there.
That's something that I would do. Like, if I could just up and choose a road to live on. Like, I feel like if I could just pick any house anywhere or any plot of land anywhere, and money was not a factor, I would definitely be looking at the street name on top of the property.
Live on Chelsea Court.
Chelsea.
Or well, okay, here I guess I'm going off to Egypt to live in Alexandria. But
Whoa.
Okay.
Jeez. I mean, that's a street. You took a whole city / ancient empire. And Bradford, I would not be surprised if you have some kind of like royal bloodline like in your background and you just don't know about it.
technically,
would be very-
everyone alive does. If you have any European ancestry, you're a descendant of Charlemagne. If you have any Arabic ancestry, you're a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. If you have any Asian ancestry, you're a descendant of Taizong of Tang. If you have any African ancestry, you're a descendant of like Mansa Musa, I think. So Helen Keller once said, "There is not a king who is not descended from slaves, and there's no slave who is not descended from a king." It's not just a poetic thing, it's literal, actual truth if you go by genetics.
Oh, wow.
But yeah. But alas.
That would be another side quest because I want to go into that. That just seems such a... I'm not sure I want to test that theory, but that's why. And it would go into... We can, play that into the events of the early beginnings of the Republic and the Ricotta Empire and the... Mother Machine, and we can get into all that. I love that. I love
thing
that.
with my little bit of science knowledge.
She blinded with me with science, yes.
Indeed.
Well, I know a little bit about genetics too, so I think we could probably do something together, Samrapta.
Cheerio.
Good to me. Why are we British now?
I don't know.
All right.
Well,
And
you have
here
to,
we
when
are.
you talk about genetics, you have to sound important
Sound like
in science.
Countess Darwin.
Oh yes, no, we obviously, if we want to sound important, we must speak like this.
Yes,
You
quite.
do.
Quite.
A little bit of a David Attenborough.
And you have to hold your hands up as well. Don't touch anything; it might be dirty.
So, thank you, dear Wisp, for joining us once more.
Oh, God.
And
Oh, it's my pleasure.
to you, dear viewers, once again, thank you for joining us, and may the Force be with you always.
Ta-ta!
And always with you.
Okay.